It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Doing good here, too.
Groovy.
Hope everybody out there is doing okay. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Oh, man. I've had a lot going on in my corner of the galaxy. Let's see. I guess one thing that I've never talked about, and I don't want to bring the show down or anything else, but we had a benefit dinner for my sister this weekend, and part of that, you know, I don't want to say what part of that was for, but we had a benefit. It turned out good, but a lot of the community came together and donated a bunch of baskets and stuff, which was really nice. There was like cutting boards and purses and jewelry. I happened to pick up. They had a basket full of freeze-dried candy.
So we're talking about like a silent auction type thing, right?
Yeah, silent auction kind of thing.
That makes sense.
I thought she just walked up and said, "Oh, this looks good." Be
that's mine.
Slashed it off of some other table, right? Lady who owns it's like, hey, and you just like give her this look real quick.
Don't you?
She just rears back a
My
little.
candy now.
Anyway, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, it was a silent auction thing where they had a bunch of baskets and that kind of thing. Well, I happened to win a basket full of freeze-dried candy. And I've like watched so many YouTube videos on this stuff, and I've tried ordering it. And when you order it, it never comes the way it's supposed to because it's fragile and crushed up, and it's just been a mess. But basket, it was perfect.
Weird.
Paid $100 for this basket. But the best candy so far out of all of this, there's like Skittles and Laffy Taffy, Suckers. So far, the best thing ever, and it's my new favorite candy, is freeze-dried Jolly Ranchers peach. I don't know how to describe the texture of this stuff.
That's a pity because I'm dying to know what the texture is like.
Well, Jolly Rancher's hard. I mean, hard. You can't even bite those in two until you get them, like, what, half the size?
Almost down to nothing, right?
Yeah. Well, these are, like, puffy, like little puff balls. And it's not quite that thick of a consistency, but it reminds me of a Whopper.
Yeah,
the inside of a Whopper.
Sure.
Yep. But by freeze-drying it, the peach flavor just, like, becomes so intense to where even when the candy's gone, you're tasting peach. And
the peach invades your very soul.
It does. It stays. But I wish she would have put more of those in the basket. I mean, I'm not going to complain because there's like all kinds of bit of honeys are in here, marshmallows. I mean, all kinds of different things. So I'm definitely getting to try a lot of them. But if you ever run across it and they're Jolly Ranchers, get them. And then tell me where they are. These are like really good.
Can you like
get you're going to take them if I tell you where it is.
No kidding. Why would Les tell you where his stash is? That would be dumb.
Right. Get your own stash.
Right.
Well, this lady, I'm wanting to say, well, she is near Pilot Point, but the name of it's Sweetie Pie, pie as in like mathematical pie, and it's all together. But oh man, for one, the amount of candy she put into this, and then I'm thinking, this lady, this is a lot of work. Like I've said, I've seen the videos. It's a lot of work. And there's at least like 15 packages of candy off in here for just someone to think my sister was that cool to just give it away. I think that was the touching part of most of this auction stuff was like it people's kindness just blew me away, And it's like it's a great feeling to know that people are just as crazy about her as I am, and that her community in this fight is huge. It's absolutely huge, and that's a good feeling too, But it was on an upbeat, like I said, she raised a lot of much needed money. I met a lot of her circle that I've never met before. The school she was working at before she retired, they were all there. So I got a chance to meet some of them and even thank a few of them for the kindness and how well they treated her while she was there. And it was really nice. I wish I would have met these people on different circumstances, of course, but I'm glad we all got a chance to get together, and it was a pretty good time. The American Legion there in Pilot Point, I forget the post number, but awesome. They donated the space. Once again, they heard about her and wanted to do something. So big thank you to them. And her best friend, Leslie, if there's angels walking around on Earth, she's got two sets of wings. She's just that kind and giving. So it's nice every time I get a chance to meet her because she's kind of doing things I wish I could do because she's so close,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad every time we get a chance to meet and talk to each other and just kind of connect, But it was a really good weekend. Like I said, really good weekend. And I got candy. Oh,
Right.
and Phil got a fishing trip. Yeah. Boo! Sounds fun.
Hey, have a good time.
Right. Take Jason. Yeah, like I said, I couldn't believe some of the stuff that was there. I saw this bracelet in a ring, and I was like, oh my God, that's so pretty because it had turquoise and like some other kind of stone in it. And then you look at it, and its estimated value is like $2,000, and you're like, whoop. That's nice, but you can't put lipstick on a pig, not for me.
Dang.
I'll go with the knockoff over here. Get some candy. But I also, me and Brandon finally did finish Mandalorian. Wow, where to start?
Oh, geez. Buckle up,
I
people.
had kind of put off watching this last episode because there's been a lot of... I don't like reading spoilers. I like to go in open-eyed and, I like to see it as it's happening. So I avoid a lot of that by blocking out Mandalorian. And that catches a lot of stuff. But what it doesn't catch is Pedro Pascal. And I've read so many rumors about him being upset because they made him put his helmet back on, and I mean, come on, guy's in his prime career right now. His face is money, so I kind of understand that. Plus this season, they did kind of take the spotlight off him. I've said that numerous times in this one, but the way it had led us to believe that something really, really bad was about to take place, and I just didn't want to see that. the ideal I had in my head of where the show was going. I just didn't want to see it go there, you know. I'm glad I did, because I don't know if it was planned that way or they changed directions, but they didn't end the show the way I thought they would. I really thought we were going to have a death on our hands, and we didn't. And they talked to, I butcher his name every time, John Favreau?
Favreau. One day we need to have a class, and that's all you're going to do for like an hour. You're going to say his name until you get it right.
You realize that we're going to do that for like 3 hours, and she's going to be getting it right, and then we're going to call her the next morning, and she's going to blow it again. You realize that, right?
I will.
Yes,
It's just the way it goes.
No faith.
But I mean that.
Can't believe it.
But I mean that in the nicest possible way.
Right. Oh, I'm like awful with names, you know. If I ever call you Hey You, it's because I forgot your name.
Oh, yeah, that hasn't happened to me a dozen times, not at all.
Just don't call me Hey Jude.
Yeah, don't make it bad.
But they did talk to John Farver.
See?
Farvadugan.
Farvadugan, yeah.
Farvadugan.
Favreau, right? Favreau.
Yes, Favreau.
They talked to John Favreau, and he said when season 3 wrapped, when they got through finishing filming and everything else, he already wrote the 4th season. And of course, he's not going to tell us what it's about. And I think what they used this season for, I was right. They used this season to boost movies. But then someone on Reddit said something, and it kind of made sense. They said that, according to some of this interview too, so you have a part of Favreau, him. You have
John.
Interview,
let's just call him
and then you
John.
have the theory. But from what he said, the Reddit guy said that it would make sense because the way it ended was kind of a shot of Din Grogu. Din Grogu, isn't that so cute? Din Grogu and Din Djarin together. And it looks like now they're going to be fighting out on the outer realms, kind of under incognito for the New Republic. So that's cool. But he said, part of what I didn't think about until he said it, he was like, if you think about it, The Mandalorian, every season, it's had their own little adventure. The first adventure in the first season was actually finding him and keeping him safe. And then the second season, we had that whole thing with Moff Gideon. And now this third season was kind of like, Boba Fett too. And then the third season, we kind of had this thing with Bo-Katan. So he was like, it would make sense for the 4th season, to once again, their own little adventure kind of thing. But all of these have been their adventure. And it's like, yeah, true. I just think this last season kind of went off his adventure a little too much and went too much into Bo-Katan's. But, I mean, all in all, I liked the ending.
Liz, look at it this way. All those storylines are now wrapped up. So now the show can totally focus on Din Djarin and Grogu. Grogu. And that's probably what season 4 is going to be. He's going to be doing essentially what he was doing in season 1. He just has a partner. Yeah.
And seeing, we like season 1. Seeing them two interact with each other was what made them a hit, So I think it's cool that they will get back to that in the 4th season. But not only will they get back to that, Grogu's a little bit more experienced now. He's an apprentice. He's a Din. So I that's going to be kind of cool because they have hinted that a lot of time went by with Luke, and we're going to see a lot of that come out now in the 4th season. What all did he learn? But there was one thing that he did in this last season, and I'm sorry if this is a spoiler for anyone. After Din Djarin spoke up for him for his, to take the creed of a Mandalorian and everything else, it shows Grogu kind of looking out into the water. And it almost, I mean, there's no sounds or anything, but the way he did his little hand and everything else, it was almost like he was speaking to the mythosaur that's in that water. And I guess it was the second, well, it was in Boba Fett, actually. There was I want to say it was a Rancor, the big beast thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it went on a rampage. And, they've been shooting this thing for half an hour and everything else and running from this thing. And Grogu comes out and kind of waves his hand and, like, puts it on this thing. And he, like, spoke to it and calmed it down. And, the town was safe. Yay. But he spoke to it somehow. So I'm thinking the way we saw that little hand over the water and stuff again, that he's actually communicated with that mythosaur. And we'll get to see the results of that in the 4th season, too. But, it's one thing to fight and win a mythosaur. Could you imagine actually taming one? I mean, come on. What would that make him then? A Mandalorian god? I mean, what would that make him? So, I thought that was pretty cool, though. But that was at the very end, so I think he was kind of teasing us with that, and it meant a lot more than he was just happy that he got to take his oath kind of thing, But after she saw the mythosaur, we never really heard about it again. We never saw it again, So it would make sense if that's who he was talking to in the water. But yeah, like I said, couple of episodes I do believe they used to set the movies up. They could have done that differently, and I think the season would have flowed a little more smoothly, because they never really even told us any more about that either. I mean, they kind of did, but I forget what her name is, the corrupt captain girl. We never saw her again, or what she was doing, or, we just saw Moff Gideon as a Mandalorian, which was weird, but
That's not the weirdest part with him in that episode.
Yeah, the clone thing was kind of weird. You killed my babies.
Well, not only that, but the whole with the clones, they would have something that he would never have, is the Force, and okay, whatever.
Well, and I'm curious, when we were first introduced to Moff Gideon, he was chasing down Grogu. There was something that he wanted from him, and we never really knew what he wanted. Now, he did have control of Grogu in the TV show for a couple of hours before he was rescued. And when he was rescued, he was on an operating table. Mm-hmm. So Moff Gideon did something. And then he has all these clones. So I'm wondering if he cloned or took part of him to clone to put in these clones. So then not only was he a Mandalorian like he was calling himself, but he would also have the power of the Jedi. I'm going to be mad if they do that, but, they never explained what he wanted from him.
Well, I mean, that's what everybody's thinking, is they took, his DNA. But I don't know how the hell all of that would work, because they've never really gone into the whole science about the midichlorians. They just say, hey, these are these life forms that are symbiont to our cells, and then those who have more of it actually have the ability to use the Force. But beyond that, that's about it. So,
and even that they don't touch, because people freaked out when they put it out there in the first place.
Yeah, I kind of took Jedi, Force. I kind of thought of it more as part of their soul, not really a DNA thing. That the Force chose you because of your, kind of like Thor's hammer, chose you because of your worthiness, not necessarily your bloodline. But I'm not as in deep in Star Wars.
I've always kind of attributed the Force to magic, in fantasy, wizards are people who seem to be more in tune and are able to learn the spells and do them, as opposed to a fighter or a bard or whatever else.
Yeah,
that was kind of my thinking. They were just more attuned to it. But George went and did a little bit more scientific explanation, and I mean, I didn't go ape shit over it, but I being pissed off or anything. But I was just like, you don't have to explain everything.
Right,
yeah.
and that's the key, is that they didn't explain it originally in the original trilogy, and for some reason somebody felt like it needed to be explained later, and that way lies madness.
See, some of that's just part of the magic. Why reveal the strings? Just let it be magic.
Yeah, but if you have this thing that you created that the entire fucking world really loved, and you see and hear a bunch of weird speculation by fans over the course of like 15 years, and then you have a chance to like actually control that, and you're a little bit of a megalomaniac to start with.
Yeah. Okay.
Just saying. Not naming any names or anything here, but
That makes more sense. To me, I would have liked to hear the different stories, kind of like that song, You're So Vain. No one really knows who that song's about, and that's kind of what makes it cool, We all have our little stories and speculation, but...
But that's what makes... Go ahead, Les. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I'm so glad no one's figured out it's me.
No kidding. That would be rough.
I had my suspicions.
But that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun is if you leave it a mystery, then you can have discussions about it. No one's right, no one's wrong. Yeah. It's just your opinion, and that's kind of the fun of some of that.
And the person who knows the secret can sit back and kind of giggle,
Right.
But go ahead.
And the fun part is they take the Grogu thing you were talking about with the DNA. They don't have to do anything with that.
Yeah.
They could just ignore it, and that's just a little piece of story that's left there hanging, which makes things more interesting in that moment for that story. Yeah. Or the alternative is they can figure out something cool to do with it several years down the road if this is still going, and do something with it then. But the deal is, if they address that immediately, they're going to screw it up. No matter how good the story is, they will screw it up.
Mm-hmm.
Give people the chance to forget. Let it turn into myth.
Or they may have explained it and I just missed it.
Well, maybe, but whatever.
I'm good at that too. But whatever, I think the only reason why they would address it is because it kind of created a plot hole. Why was Moff Gideon after him? That was the whole first season. Why was he after him then? What did he need? Why? So, and then we find out about this clone thing, so I don't know if they kind of told us, more of an imply this is why kind of thing, or he may have said, because I always get lost when the villain is like, here's why I did this, just shoot the guy. Just shut up and shoot the guy, So he may have told them why he did it, but when Grogu was in the same room with him in this last episode, he didn't even look at him. So whatever he wanted from him, he got. Or he would have, had them go get him. So.
See, that's interesting.
Yep. And then we got to see Grogu kick butt. That was cute. And his little machine they gave him. Oh, my goodness. No. But it was cute because he's got 2 buttons now, yes and no. And the robot, saved his life originally, but they couldn't find the brain to make the robot work again. So instead, they turned it into, this little thing that he can drive and walk around in, and gave it to him as a gift. And it's got those 2 little buttons. Well, when the Mandalorians are coming together, They're kind of like, you've got some who believe in wearing the helmet and the other ones who don't. So there was a big clash. There's a big culture difference between the two. So two of them get into it and they're fighting, and you see these little robot arms pull them both aside and go, no. And it was just the cutest thing ever. I would stop fighting just to go, "Aw."
Yeah, you would.
And I didn't understand the whole Jack Black and Lizzo thing. I hope they don't try to force too many celebrities off on us, because this is not the Muppet Show.
Dang.
And I liked the part that Lizzo played, but I wasn't crazy about Jack Black, which is crazy because I love him, But I wasn't crazy
kind
about the part he played.
That's funny because it sounds like everybody else had the opposite reaction.
Oh, really? Well,
Everybody
think I
loved
liked
Jack
her.
Black, but it was like, Lizzo, what the hell are you doing in this?
Yeah. Well, she was kind of like the calm piece, which is weird, because, I don't know much about her music or about her or anything, but on social media, she's kind of wild and crazy. So to see her kind of tamed down, plus she held the baby most of the time, so I liked her.
Yeah, okay.
It would have
Jack
been
Black
me.
was Jack Black. I mean, that's all he was, and that's okay.
Right. You get what you get with that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he can tone it down. I mean, he was really good in the King Kong.
Yeah.
The version of King Kong he was in.
And in School of Rock, he had his moments where he was wild, but that was kind of toned down Jack Black too,
So.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, he wasn't bad. Like I said, I love Jack Black. it was kind of, maybe it was just the character I just didn't care for very much.
Well, there seems to be a lot of surprising. There's people complaining about Star Wars, the cameos this year. They seemed like it was a little too distracting, which I'm like, it is what it is.
That whole episode felt like just an episode so they could have them too. So I could kind of see
it was
that.
Someone mentioned, and it was a perfect explanation of what it was. It was a side quest.
Yeah. Well, and they did have to find the Mandalorian, and they were there, but
true. But I mean,
I think they just put them there because they wanted the Jack Black and Lizzie. They could have been anywhere, but they put them there.
No.
And then even that, we didn't see a lot of them, talking them into coming back with them or anything. So once they found the assassin, which I think was spoiler, yeah.
Way to go.
Well, that's been a couple of episodes, so but yes, that is a spoiler.
I can cut it out.
But it was
if you
kind of
want.
cool seeing him,
Whatever you want to do, Mikey. I don't care. I just,
Yeah. But that was I think that was in the same episode.
Yes, Jack, it was the Black same. Yeah. It was the same planet. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, like I said, they had a couple of weird ones, but I'm glad, like, the last 15 minutes of this episode really brought Din Djarin back to the spotlight and made sure that we knew this is where we're headed with this. You're going to follow these guys because Bo-Katan's mission was realized when she got the Mandalorian back together. She's got her planet now. There's nothing left for him to do, So that made me feel good. And then to finally see them in a little home at peace also made me feel good. That they can have that now.
Yay.
But for him to be Din Djarin's apprentice, he has to do the same things that he did, and part of that was he's been a bounty hunter. So, off they go. I think that will be cute. I'm excited for the 4th season, and I really think if people didn't like the 3rd season, hold off for the 4th. If they do it to us again, then we'll kill them.
Well, I mean, hold on a second. You talk about fourth season. Nothing's been officially announced. The only thing about fourth season is Favreau said he has it all written out. There has been no official announcement that there is a fourth one.
I thought they were approved up to 6.
From what I've heard, it's not official, but whatever.
And then I also had heard that the rumors with Pedro Pascal that I was talking about to begin with, those still might be true. And the reason why everybody thought that he was, this was going to shift to Bo-Katan was because Favreau had made the comment that, that he didn't have to be the Mandalorian. And I think what he meant to say there was, with him having a mask on, you're not going to know who the Mandalorian is, So he doesn't have to be the one. We can have his stunt double come in and be the one, And then at that, and that's also what I had heard some of the complaint is that they wanted to pay Pascal not a lot of money because they considered him doing voice work. Well, yeah, I mean, but he did do some of the acting and stuff too. Not all of it, because he was filming HBO. What was the name of that one? Last of Us, which he got paid 3 times as much as what Disney was paying him. So I think if he had the choice of going and finishing this or staying with The Mandalorian, he's going to go finish The Last of Us. Just because people can see him. And that's not a vain thing. When you're an actor, you want people to see your face. You want them to know who that is, And more money. I would too.
I see. I understand what you're saying, but that is the same thing regarding the superheroes. It's like in all the movies, right at the end, they lose their mask. Yeah. So you see their face, and it's like, you do realize when you sign on a role that you're playing a character who's going to have his face covered up.
Yeah.
That is part of the deal.
Well, I think the first turn on the Mandalorian when he took his helmet off, I don't think that Pascal thought he was going to put it back on. We have Bo-Katan who doesn't. But when they decided, no, he's going to walk the full Mandalorian path, that's kind of when he was like, I don't know about this, I can't get an Emmy with my face covered. And like I said, there's no shame in that. That's not a cut down to him. With an actor, that's like your top award you can get. Who doesn't want to be acknowledged for something they did well?
Well, no offense. I never think I'll see the day where a show like Mandalorian is going to win an Emmy for acting. Yeah. And I'm not saying the acting's not good. Those are not the type of shows that are going to get nominated, much less win.
Yeah, but every year,
that's the same.
More and more streaming stuff win.
The awards are full of snooty bastards who aren't.
But those. Yeah, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're not going to pick that.
Yeah, they're not going to go
for more dramatic or more whatever.
Yeah, they're not going to pick the genre stuff. That's why you don't see sci-fi or fantasy films or horror films get Academy Awards.
Yeah.
I mean, Peter Jackson got one for Return of the King, but that was basically saying, hey, you did an awesome job doing these 3 films, because he probably should have won it for Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah,
I think it's a better film than Return of the King, but I think it was pretty much, hey, you did an awesome job, so here you go.
Well, I think they had to acknowledge that there was so much groundbreaking stuff that he did to make that movie, and you anytime you make changes like that into the field, it has to be acknowledged. And just the CGI and special effects that he created, and
And that's great, but that doesn't mean he did a great job. That doesn't say that his directing was the best of that year.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that, I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis even mentioned it when she accepted her Academy Award. She talked about these genres. It's like, you know what? There's some really good acting in some of these other films, but they'll never get noticed because they're genre films. They're not pure. They're not pure drama. They're not comedy. They're they're horror. They're fantasy. They're sci-fi. They're superheroes.
They're less than.
They're not the quality as the others in the view of their own fellow people. They're the people in the same freaking industry.
Yeah. Well, and every once in a while they'll break through there. I think Guillermo del Toro, he's won a lot of awards with his horror stuff. I mean, I will have to say he cleaned up more with Pinocchio, which is not his typical horror, but like Labyrinth and stuff, or Pan's Labyrinth. Mm-hmm. So every once in a while, but I will have to agree, it's usually a forgotten genre because it doesn't appeal to the masses.
Or it does appeal to the masses.
And it appeals to the masses, and that's what pisses the Academy off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that they want to make this real serious shit. You get people whining about this all the time, and they want to make their serious stuff, and these people over here wearing tights and capes, whatever, that's not important. They may be doing fantastic work, but some people are simply biased against it at the outset.
Because that's kid stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it's just less. It's just less than whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
It's not what I'm doing, so it's not important.
Yeah. I would agree.
And screw those people.
Yep.
But anyway. Tear down the system, damn it.
Yep. Rage against the machine.
See, I think the moral of this episode already is one person can be an awesome human being, but you get more than a few of people together and they just turn into assholes.
Yeah.
Didn't Tommy Lee Jones say that in Men in Black?
Pretty close to it, yeah. It's not a direct quote. It's slightly paraphrased.
Yeah.
Also true.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, we shall see.
All righty, Mikey. It's been an hour. Let's go.
Next week.
I am not going to talk about this for an hour. You do not have to worry about that. I don't have that much to say. No. I actually, since I was ahead this week by a week, I decided to watch something other than Margaret Rutherford.
Oh.
I watched what we're talking about this week. I watched it last week. This week I watched another movie which on the surface looked interesting. It is called Die Monster Die. It came out in 1965 and it stars Boris Karloff. And the thing that caught my eye and the thing that I thought was worth checking out was it. The thing I read called it an adaptation of The Color Out of Space, which is an H.P. Lovecraft story. Later on, I looked at the Wikipedia for it, and it calls it a loose adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's story, The Color Out of Space. And boy, howdy, is it a loose adaptation. It pretty much doesn't have anything to do with it.
Surprise!
They used color in an interesting way. That's about as close as we got. And there was something screwing with people. Something from like a meteor that was screwing with people. There the similarities end. That said, it's actually not a half bad little movie. It is the story of, you start off with the American, in this case played by Nick Adams. And if you're not familiar with him, he's the kind of actor that if you need an obnoxious American, he's a good one to call. But he's an American. He goes to England to meet the girlfriend that he'd met in college. Basically because they're in love, and he has a hard time finding her house because it's basically been shunned. He finally gets there, and the the girl's father, played by Boris Karloff, is a really bad recluse and just doesn't. He's working on this thing, and he's going to change the world with this thing he's working on, and it's very vague for most of the movie. But strange things are happening to people around this house. Like they appear to be getting sick. The girl's name is Susan. Susan's mother is basically holed up in bed because she's ill and something's wrong with her. The butler is kind of an odd duck who eventually collapses, and then the implication of the movie, and I mean this is a 50-year-old movie. I don't care about spoilers. Basically, he somehow spontaneously combusts, and the only witness is the old man. So the pushy American is trying to find out what the hell's going on and blah blah blah, and the old man doesn't like him, and the daughter is caught in the crossfire, and the whole thing ends with the house burning down, and the happy couple escapes barely, and which happy ending. How can this be an adaptation of a Lovecraft story with a happy ending? That's not a thing that happens. But overall, as a horror movie goes, I mean, for the '60s, it's okay. As science fiction, I don't know. It actually does pretty good at suspense, though. I thought if there's a strong suit, if it fits in anywhere, it's kind of a suspense thriller. So it's got that going for it. Otherwise, it's mostly kind of unremarkable. I mean, it was fun to watch, but I mean, was it fantastic? Nah, it was just fun to watch, really.
That's cool.
Yep, it's on Amazon Prime.
Die Monster Die, right?
Yep. It's got an exclamation mark.
In the middle or at the end?
At the end.
Okay, thanks.
I want to say that's come up with some of my recommended stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of how I spotted it, too.
I may have it on my list, then.
See, got in under an hour.
Yay!
Well, that's no fun.
Uh-huh.
Les?
Okay, about the Mandalorian. Oh, no. I did something similar that Mike did. I watched a movie on Prime, and it's one of those that if you see a listing of other movies similar to this, Die Monster Die was in that list. But I took the time to watch a Vincent Price mystery with and Dora, what's her name?
Agnes Moorehead.
Agnes Moorehead, yes. Called The Bat. And it was fun too. It's not a remarkable story or even remarkable acting, but it was fun. So there's a double feature right there. And I'm glad you brought Die Monster Die up, Mike, because that was one that I was going to ponder about too. And
isn't that crazy? One movie and it's on 3 of our lists.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
No, because this is us we're talking about. I mean, come on. This is us. We do that shit all the time.
Right.
Cool.
She starts off with I also.
Anything else?
No, that's about it.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it, though.
I checked that one out too.
Well, for me, I watched another show that came to an end. The season came to an end, but it was actually the series finale too. Picard, season 3, the series finale. Oh my God! I'm not going to say it's perfect, but man, it was such a great ending to a very well done season. From the acting, the writing, everything, it was just great. And if they wanted to, they could do a spinoff, but it doesn't sound like they're going to, and that sucks because they have it set up to do that. I gotta do this one cameo. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but it's awesome. It doesn't spoil the entire thing. But it starts off with a emergency message from the president of the United Federation of Planets. The president at that time is Anton Chekhov, and it was voiced by Walter Koenig.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Anton,
yes. And they got Anton from was it Anton Yellick, who played Chekhov in the new run. The Kelvin movies.
Chris
Yes.
Pine and all that.
Chris Pine and them. Yes.
Anton Yelchin.
So it's a nod to him, and it's a nod to Walter. It's a great little. It's just a voice cameo, but it was perfect. And you're just going, oh wow, this is where we're going. A lot of really cool stuff. A lot of stuff to laugh. A lot of stuff to kind of bring some tears to your eye. But really well done. The acting was we just talked about acting in genre, and God, everybody was just incredible this entire season, and it capped off with this episode. If you've not seen it, you really should. I think it is really worth the time and effort, and we're only talking 10 episodes. So definitely check it out, especially if you're a Star Trek fan, and especially if you're a Next Generation fan.
I saw Will Wheaton was in that. Has he been in all of it, or just like
he's not even in this season.
Okay.
He made a cameo at the end of last season, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But no, this is everybody else.
Cool.
This is the main group. Troy, Riker, LaForge, spoiler, Data, Crusher, and obviously Picard. They're all there. And probably, oh God, I'm not going to be able to come up with the line, but Worf just comes out with this great line. At one point, he was talking about, I really had a serious feeling that we were actually going to survive this today. Something along those lines. It was just, it's so perfect. But it's like, you know what? It sounds like a Worf. This is the maybe perhaps today is a good day to die. That type of attitude. It just fit perfectly. A lot. There's a lot of great little zingers and stuff like that. It just, oh man, it was just. Definitely check it out. He's not a merry man.
A lot of homework this week.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Still got to watch a movie for next week. Oh.
What?
I know.
Well, they're all out now, so you can just pace yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what Mike has to do.
Mm-hmm.
he can't binge watch. Frankly, I can't do it too much either. I know I talked about doing MASH, but after a couple hours, I gotta either get up and do something else or watch something else, or it's 6 episodes. You're going, okay, I need to change the pace for a little bit, and then I'll come back. So I understand that. Anyway. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into this week's discussion. But before we do that, I do want to point out that we have a Discord that's free for everybody to join. Sign up for Discord is free. The app is in all the app stores, and it's free. We do have an invite on our homepage, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. We post a lot of news items, stuff for discussion, stuff to laugh at. We'll have some activities on there. We've done a couple of movie nights and stuff long for the month. Do it for the month. Granted, we hadn't done that in a while. We've all of us have had other things going on. So, but we'll do something like that again here real soon. So, if you're a real fan of the show and like to hang out with us, we're there just about all the time. At least one or two of us are there at some point. And there's times where we're all there, so just come join us.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, we are continuing our run on Miss Marple films from early to mid 60s. I think this one's 64. This is the third of 4 films that starred Dame Margaret Rutherford. Need to make sure I say Dame Margaret Rutherford. And it's entitled Murder Most Foul. And once again, kind of doing a little research on this, this was a Hercule Poirot story that got changed to a Miss Marple.
Apparently, there weren't enough good Miss Marple books. I guess I don't know.
I guess I'm
weird.
not sure what it does. So let's go ahead and get into this film. Let's talk about it.
Well, like the other two, I really liked this one. Les, I think they listened to your complaints and they toned the funny down.
If you hadn't have said that, I was going to.
It did have its moments still, but I think it was more of wasn't like a comedy thing. It was just kind of a cute, funny kind of thing, Not really planned to be like a ha-ha funny. But, yeah, I kind of liked this one. I did not have the killer picked out again. I was kind of surprised with the name that was Evelyn. I was 100% certain we were looking for a girl and it was going to be Freaky Girl, So.
You fell for the oldest trick in the book.
I did. I forgot they named guys stuff like that back then.
The MacGuffin.
But yeah, I didn't see that one coming. I either thought, like I said, it was going to be Freaky Girl or the producer, because they laughed at his film or something crazy like that. But yeah, like I said, I really liked this one. I liked the way it flowed, and I always think these films are really short, but I think the time just goes quickly because the story just moved along that way. And I've definitely been looking at more stuff to watch on this level. Amazon, or not Amazon, yeah, I guess it is Amazon. Amazon does have a good selection. I mean, they do have all 4 of these movies that we're watching, but they had another one I was wanting to watch called Miss Marple, but it's not Dame Margaret, it's someone else. But I figured once we got through with these, I would watch those because I don't want to get them confused.
Oh, good. See, that's funny because of the three we've watched so far, I actually like this one the least.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah?
that's not to say it's bad. It was still pretty entertaining for the most part. There were
Yeah.
some twists, some different things they did that I didn't like as much. I mean, it just the whole she just decides to go try out as an actor because of this silly murder mystery thing that she's trying to follow up on. I mean, hiring on as a maid is one thing. Taking a vacation, going to a resort, a hotel, that's fine. But to go try to be an actor
Yeah.
just randomly, that was a bridge too far for me.
Yeah.
That kind of disconnected me right up front.
Mm-hmm.
Although I did like the film she auditioned with. That was cool.
That was an interesting choice.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine why they picked that one, but that was an interesting choice. Some random Canadian poem from about 60 years before the movie came out, or 70. I don't know, whatever. I think it didn't matter because I think it was too much of a stretch. But anyway,
Yeah.
I kind of liked the lead-in with the whole trial thing. I thought
Hmm.
that was an interesting. That was a novel idea. That was a different way to do it. That it gave.
Covered so much ground.
Yeah, it did, and that it made her relationship with the inspector strained. I thought was also an interesting turn.
Yeah.
Um, because he was clearly unhappy with her the
Yeah.
whole time, as opposed to the respectfully disagreeing thing. He was like trying to stop her at every turn in this one, and I was just like, okay, this is. I'm not sure I like it, but it's different.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think more so is because she was making another cop look stupid. Not
Sure,
stupid, but you had the wrong information,
right.
And I think if I was him, anytime she was like, I don't think that's what happened, I'd shut up and listen, because how many times has she been right now?
Two.
Well, I mean twice, right?
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it just so it was kind of I thought it was uneven. I mean, as the story unfolded and as she's figuring stuff out, I think it kind of got back its pacing a little better.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're the tradition of she's not telling us everything, so we have no way of knowing who the killer is at the end. Um, is consistent.
Yeah.
I don't know that I like it a whole lot, but it's consistent. So
And
good
she
for them.
didn't get proposed to.
No, although I was expecting it by the time we
Yeah.
got there. But the deal is that the character they set up for that was not interested in her. He was only interested in her money.
Yeah.
Right.
How he knew she had any money was completely beyond me. But whatever.
Well, because she said she was a woman of her own means.
Yeah, and that he based all of that on that. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's kind of an act of desperation by itself. But whatever.
Yeah.
Something like Cosgood.
Yeah,
Well,
he was overall an interesting character, but not necessarily a super likable one.
no.
But
That's why I almost thought he was the one who did it.
I wouldn't have put it past him at a
Yeah.
couple of points in this movie, for sure.
Stood between him and his movie or something,
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Cosgood was played by Rod Moody.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Another well-known.
Mm-hmm.
From Oliver.
Oliver. He was Fagin.
He was Fagin.
Yep. Which I enjoy. I enjoy Oliver, but I love Fagin. I just enjoy that character. So seeing it's the same actor, I'm like, okay. Then I started watching the movie. I'm like, okay, I don't like this character. He's kind of annoying as hell.
Mm. It was just the right amount of pompous and blowhard. Yeah, it was. I mean, like I said, I think he did well with the character, but
oh yeah, he did.
character
Yeah, he did a
wasn't.
great job. But he's not. Yeah, the character's not someone you want to really like.
Yep.
Since I've already stepped in, I agree with you. I mean, it's kind of nice that some of the comedy has been toned down a little bit. And I get it's something with a lot of well, I mean, it's with all the mysteries, especially the mystery movies I've seen. You know, all the suspects. I mean, none of them are really. There's something there that are just not likable. But it seems like it irritated me more with this one. Yeah, I was going to say something, but I'll leave that alone for right now. But it just, I don't know. There was just something about these characters that it just, in this particular one, I don't know. It hit me differently. It's just like, you know, yeah. I mean, any of them could be the suspect until all of a sudden they right there at the end they reveal who it is. But it's like none of them. I don't know. It's hard for me to explain. It's just I didn't care for any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me. I mean, and like I said, that's something with all of them. I mean, all mysteries. I mean, you're not supposed to like any of them, but there's some of them. You go, okay, I could see them possibly being a murderer, but I can also see them not. And in this case, and in this film, I don't know. It's like I don't care one way or the other. I guess that's
Right.
kind of my thing.
They didn't go very far toward making them likable. They were just pretty much just snipping and bitching at each other all the time.
Exactly.
And that got old in the first scene that they appeared in.
Yeah.
It didn't didn't get any better after that.
No, because it happens in almost every scene when there's two or three of them together.
Mm-hmm.
There's either they're either smart ass comments to them or there's just something negative. It definitely. Thank you. That's part of what got me going. I don't care. And it wasn't like that in the other two.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
and I don't know. I'm not sure what the deal was.
They weren't related.
Well,
weren't they related? They were all related last week, I know, or a lot of them were. Were they the first one? I don't remember. Too many all at once. They're starting to bleed together.
Yeah,
that's part of why I took a break.
Yeah. Well, there's only one more, and then we're done for now.
Yeah, it'll be good.
So.
Yeah.
So. I mean, Margaret was great as she always is. Don't fit. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying about her all of a sudden being an actress. That is a little out there. But I think she did. I think she did okay with what she had. I just don't think it was that strong of a script. Or maybe it's just me. I don't know.
I wouldn't argue with that. I think this is definitely the weakest of the stories so far.
Yeah, and if it was originally a Poirot story and they changed it and then added a bunch of characters, I can see why all of a sudden it's not that good.
Well, I mean, they did that in the second movie too, and it worked.
Well, yeah.
So apparently they
worked.
went to the well too many times here, or too quickly. Yeah. I don't know. It's funny because I was looking, and there were a dozen Miss Marple novels and several short story collections. And apparently, after the first one, they ran out and didn't have any more, so they had to tear up Poirot books to fill the gap. I don't get it.
Yeah, I guess he wouldn't make a good movie star or something. I don't know.
I don't know. They seem to have done all right so far.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I mean, you had Albert Finney, and then you had Peter Ustinov. Those films were really good, and now the ones with Kenneth Branagh, they've done well. So I think, And to say nothing of the TV series that was on for how many years?
A long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I think that's what I have saved is the series.
Could be.
So Les, your thoughts?
Hate to be the downer, but there was just too much comedy. They leaned on comedy to get this thing forward. And that's where I took exception. Tell me the story. Give me some fun facts about the characters. Make them believable. The thought that we can go to the house where the man was killed and get his goods for the church. Really? I don't see that happening.
Sure as hell wouldn't happen today.
No, that happens today, and the police are on you, and you're carted off to jail. Rutherford was extraordinary again. I do like her as Marple. And Stringer is a great character because he's almost inept, like Holmes' sidekick. He doesn't know exactly where he's going, what he's doing, but he'll do it because it's asked of him.
Because he'll do anything for her.
Yes, and there's not even real, to me, there's not even a tinge of I'll do it because I love you type feeling. I think he does it because he enjoys her company and he can be there to serve her. I think that's what he's holding on for. The idea of, I'm sorry, but the idea of the humor it just was so thick. I think the actor that played the inspector was phenomenal because he could turn and either be for her or against her. It just didn't matter that it didn't matter that it was against his character because he didn't care. That's about it for me. And there was deathly silence in the crowd.
You're just soaking it in, dude.
I think maybe a lot of what you saw as humor in this one, I didn't see as humor. Maybe it was just because it was so poorly done, or it was such a mean-spirited type of humor that I didn't spot it. Which hell, that seems weird. I can always pick out the mean-spirited stuff. I will grant you for sure that most of what was going on, especially with the acting company, was distraction more than anything else. I wouldn't have pegged most of it as funny, but it was certainly distracting. Maybe it was because I just sort of found it so irritating most of the time that I didn't see it as comic relief. The other fun difference is that Mr. Stringer, I actually viewed him as probably the only useful comedic turn in this movie at all. His loyalty is like downright puppy dog like, which we're at the point now, we've seen enough of these, I'm starting to just find it funny that he's just so desperately loyal to this woman. And I mean, I get it. My take on it is he's a small town librarian. I mean, she makes his life interesting. So
True.
yeah, I'd hang on to that too if I had it nearby. So I like the character. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about the character at all. I think he's great. I think he's really well done. Um, I love that he's entirely added to this whole thing, the way he is, and that I think I even described it this way before. He's like the inner monologue that we don't get because it's a movie instead of a book. He's like Miss Marple's inner monologue. He's the sounding board that she can use because you can't just write down what she's thinking because it's a movie and it's a visual medium.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I understand your thought there.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I'm still finding these interesting. I didn't like this one quite as much, but I'd still recommend it. It's still good.
I too would recommend it. I found it interesting. I found it fun. But I just wasn't into the thick humor.
I would recommend it too, but I would definitely recommend the first two before I would recommend this one. It's like, I mean, obviously you would recommend the first one so you get to know the character and all that. Obviously, I don't mean it that way, but it's just
We're starting to run into sequelitis here.
Yeah.
Which is making me not entirely look forward to the fourth one. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's that bounces back a little bit, but we'll see.
No comment from here.
I'm actually glad I haven't watched it now that we're talking about it this way. I will get into it very, very soon.
Yep. All right. Any final thoughts on this one?
Watch it.
Yeah.
Watch it.
It's still pretty good. We're bashing it a little bit, but it's still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a fun little mystery to it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get to see the ending until it hits you in the face.
Literally. So, all right. On that note, we're going to take a quick break and be back with Geek News for You. And we're back, and it's time for Geek News for You. In this segment, we bring a couple of news items to the table for discussion. This week, it is Les and myself. And Les, would you like to go first, please?
Thank you, sir. I see where DC is running a new Black Label miniseries called Superman, The Last Days of Lex Luthor. This is going to be written by Mark Waid with art by Brian Hitch. This 3-issue series is a story about Lex Luthor facing death, and he wants Superman to help him find a cure for what is causing his rapid decline. The world is saying, it's Luthor, good riddance, go away. But Superman is intent on finding a cure, so intense that he is willing to go to the end of the universe through different dimensions and across time. I find it interesting. We'll see what his thought process is in trying to rectify the man that's been his nemesis for so long. And this even brought back the time when Lex was a teenager in Smallville. I remember the story where Lex lost his hair and blamed Superboy for it. So I want to see how they handle this, and I think it's gonna be successful.
Sounds interesting.
Yep.
It does.
Get a chance to crawl inside Superman's head for a change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get him to explain his thought process.
All right. Yeah, that is very interesting.
Yeah, what we need is a series that goes into the life of Superman's therapist. That's what we need. Because going into the one for Batman's therapist would be scary. But for Superman, that would be interesting.
Well, we kind of got the Batman's background through Metal, the series that ran a couple years ago, because all of the characters that came out were manifestations of his fears.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. For me, I have a comic news item as well, because I thought this was kind of interesting, and it involves an old friend of ours. Apparently, they're saying for the third time, Marvel is retconning the origin of the Beyonder.
Oh, Lord.
See, originally they said he was a failed cosmic cube, and this was back in like the late '80s, early '90s, I believe. But that and then Brian Michael Bendis changed to where he was actually an inhuman mutant. Get that? An inhuman mutant who gained his powers from the Terrigen Mist. Okay.
Okay.
Now, just last year, they said that that the Beyonder and his quote-unquote brothers were created during the second cosmos by the Celestials, and they were given powers to actually destroy the Celestials if there was ever another war between them. Okay, that was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in Avengers Beyond, which is a new series, this is in the first issue.
Beyond.
Yeah, Avengers Beyond. It says, and I quote, "The original Beyonder from Secret Wars reveals to the Avengers that he'd been secretly training them to fight against an upcoming threat that's coming for him and his fellow Beyonders, named the Lost One. According to Beyonder's story, this creature created the members of the Beyonders, imbuing them, quote unquote, with the tiniest fraction of his powers. The Beyonders then grew jealous of their creator and attacked him, stealing the rest of his power and trapping him for eons until he's just recently got free and is hunting them.
Alrighty then.
A little bit.
So is this a retcon or is this an uncovering of a line of bullshit that he gave them at some point, like a year ago?
What's the difference?
None. There is none whatsoever. I'm just at the level of retcon is all I'm questioning here. And we have no way of knowing, and that's fine.
No, honestly, I think it's just, it was Al Lewis who wrote basically that story from last year. It was from Defenders. Had no idea that this was going to be what you're going to be using the Beyonder with for this series. Nobody knows what the others do, and so they're just doing whatever the hell they want.
So they fired their editing staff? Is that the conclusion we're coming to here?
Well, I mean, Disney's doing layoffs, so yeah. I mean, it's possible.
I don't know.
I don't see this as a successful retcon.
Once again, it's I go back to our earlier discussion. It's trying to explain something where do we really need an explanation? Just, hey, it's a being that has this unbelievable power. We can't accept that. We have to know why, where he come from. Why does he have this power? Why is there all of a sudden there's many of them? I'm like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, why do we need so many watchers?
Well, but it's a race of watchers, and we've known that from the get go, and most of them actually, that's all they do is they watch. There's some that don't, and I'm okay with that. But we were introduced to one Beyonder,
right?
And then we found out, oh well, there's more of them, and it was like it's almost convoluted as, let's say, Hawkman's origins. Did I say that plural? Or Wonder Girl, Donna Troy's origins. It's just like, well, this, I don't like this, so I'm going to come up with my own idea about this particular character or something, and that's what we're going to go with until someone else comes along and goes, well, I don't think I like that, so let me do this. And it just gets to the point where it's so convoluted, you don't know what the hell's going on. What is it? That worked for the Joker. He could have this origin or he can have that origin. He can, I think I've said it before in the Arkham Asylum graphic novel from '89. The psychiatrist that was working with him said he literally wakes up every day as a new person. Today he could be a clown. Tomorrow he could be a killer. And it just depends on how he wakes up. I'm okay with that, because that accepts all the other various versions that we've seen of him. That I'm okay with.
Well, it plays into his insanity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. True.
And I think in Death of the Family, he had even mentioned that even he doesn't know,
Yeah.
his own, well, paraphrasing, but he didn't even know his own origin story.
Well, because he's so messed up, yes.
That's crazy, yeah.
But, I never really liked the whole idea of him being a failed cosmic cube. But it's better than him being an inhuman mutant, which I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, but okay. I guess that's what we're going with. And now these two ideas here, literally within a year's time, I read this and I'm going, this is crazy. I'm not sure if I'm understanding what the hell I'm reading. All of a sudden, him and his brothers attacked their father and took all his power and then imprisoned him. I can't remember what Zeus's father's name was. Do you remember? Anybody? In the old myths? But you know what I'm talking about.
Kronos?
Kronos, yes.
Yeah.
It's something weirdly similar. Maybe not too similar, but I don't know. It's a crazy idea, and someone's going to come along down the road and go, all that other is bullshit. It's just he's just telling you different stuff to kind of keep you on your toes or whatever, keep you guessing. I don't know. Anyway. All right. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
No.
Don't think so.
Not here.
Okay, we'll move on to our regular shout-outs. Want to thank Pop Goes to Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasters. Definitely check them out. There will be a link in our show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who have been so kind enough to spread the word of the fellowship on Twitter by retweeting us. That is Potter & Family. Check them out. Just do a search, hashtag Potter & Family. Scroll through whatever catches your attention. By all means, click on that link and download that episode. We hope you have a great time listening to them. Thank you guys as always. I want to thank Maddie the Martyr for supplying music to the podcast. In our show notes, you can be able to listen to some of their other tunes they have produced. Thank you guys. Excuse me. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any questions, comments, suggestions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. Email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net is one way you can do that. Or go to the website and go to the About Us page. And on there, you'll see a contact form that you can fill out. If you join our Discord, we do have a feedback section where you can post your thoughts. On social media, we are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. On Instagram, Twitter, and Hive Social, we are at Fellowship Geeks. Follow us all there if you can. If you want to follow our individual Twitter accounts, Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_Geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at TomTC Geek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review our show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We do appreciate the support as always. Until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,